it. This suffering is too much. It's too much. Look at the students. There's no job. They finish school. There's no job for them.
We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ebuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
And of course, we are ready today again for another conversation on the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You know how he's always here. Once it's 15 minutes past 9 a.m., we always congregate to bring you development in the Polity as they make it to the front pages of our national dailies. And this very morning, of course, we have the headlines already. And there are some exciting things we are going to look at this very morning on this very show. My name is Franklin and Chisom, and don't forget it's a Thursday edition of this very show, this 25th day of September 2025. And we are live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You can join this very conversation. Go to our YouTube channel and also Instagram at Udala Radio and also follow this very conversation. We'd like to have you there and have your input into this very conversation. Once more, my name is Franklin and Chisom Chinedu. Good morning. Let me start even with talking about your clothes. So nice and so wonderful.
Okay, Franklin. Good morning. Thank you. Okay. Good morning, Franklin. And what should I say? Thank you for the compliment. It's rare.
It's rare.
You know, speaking about the most reserved person in the office.
If like is that it? The uncommon thing, right?
Not entirely, but
Okay.
but it's okay. How are you today?
Fantastic.
No rain, thankfully.
Would I say that was not okay? Okay, when I left Oka, it was a bit sunny, but coming down to around Teje and Umunya area, I saw that place was wet when I passed there. So I think in some places there was a drizzle, but where I left this very morning, there was no rain there.
Thankfully, honestly, because yesterday the rain was terrifying. 1 minute the weather is all clear, and the next minute everywhere is a total mess. You know, I look forward to a day when Nigerian roads would be friendly, season in, season out. Presently, urban roads are a no-go area, and I don't know when we are going to break out of this cycle of, you know, having our roads not being usable. Motorable is even extra. The average Nigerian can't even trek comfortably once the rain touches the ground, and it's really, really sad.
Okay, sad one. I forgot to talk about some of the headlines or some of the things that are actually getting attention in the country. And I must say that what the president did yesterday with Ogoni people, of course, is making headlines. And then what happened in Imo State? A lawyer who was supposed to be arraigned for cyber stalking, the arraignment was stalled because the magistrate was not around. And then this very morning, there is a story filtering in. If you check the Guardian, you see the story. If you check the Sahara Reporters, you see the story that President Bola Tinubu has allegedly directed INEC chairman to proceed on leave. That is what is trickling in now. And there have been reactions, but INEC is saying that anybody who wants to talk about that should first of all make reference to the section of the Constitution that talks about the process of appointing INEC chairman and then removal. So maybe, of course, it's going to feature by town getting to conversations.
Definitely, we keep our fingers crossed until we have an official letter from the office of the president to that effect.
All right.
Presently, it's all a rumor, And Mahmoud's Yakub's tenure is supposed to end on the 9th of November, so he still has some time, technically, unless there is something happening that we are not privy to.
All right, so let's now bring in Tony Olisa Mbeki, the analyst. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Franklin, Ebuka. Good morning, the good people of Nigeria and their number and the southeast, wherever you are listening to us from. It's always a pleasure, and we salute our brothers who are outside the country, our diasporan brothers, the diasporan community, those in Italy, those in Vietnam, those in Saudi Arabia, in Jerusalem, Dubai, those in South Africa, those in Ghana, there are those even in Germany, our German brothers. They are everywhere. They listen to what we do here. They do send their appreciations and their wishes. We also salute you, and we thank everyone for being part of this very conclave, because what we do here every morning, we do hold a conclave. We thank you for being part of it, and remember one thing: you must go home with something new and then get more informed and also get more insight. It's one of the things you have to look out for each time you get involved. As far as this program is concerned, this is our sanctuary. We're inside the sanctuary. We have to commune with the gods. We have to invoke the powers that be, and then do things the way they should be done. You're welcome.
Okay, talking about doing things the way it's supposed to be done, I don't know whether to say that was what happened yesterday, between the APC and then ANSA, talking about the agency that is in charge of signages in Anambra State. You know that before the peak of the gubernatorial elections we're having in the state, of course, ANSA talked about that people who want to engage in out-of-home advertisement or campaign, they have to pay 50 million naira for them to be able to get permit for that. And we saw only 4 parties who were able to meet up with that very requirement, talking about ABGA, ADC, Labour Party, and YPP. But yesterday, APC made it to the office of ANSA in Oka and paid 50 million naira for out-of-door campaign permit. And somebody said, at the end of the day, the right thing has been done. So can we say that, Johnny?
It's part of the process. Remember, ANSA came into existence. That was in 2011. It was the brainwork or the initiative of former Governor Peter Obi, and it helped a lot in coordinating outdoor advertisement, not just because of election, general advertisement. We had such in Lagos even before it was brought down to Anambra State, and other states have also got their own answers, or what they can call their version of answer. So it is mostly in most states now, and they have their own ways of doing things. Yes, this election in view, the answer Anambra State signage and advertisement agency came out and announced that for you to have an outdoor advertisement, either billboard campaigns and what have you, 50 million. And many people criticize it here. It was on this show that I run down how other states are doing it, and there are other states that collect much more than that. And when it was also introduced by former Governor Peter Obi, I also did analysis on that, the very amount they started with. But we may agree that it may be much based on economic realities as we have it presently. But one would say that some of these politicians have also, for one reason or the other, been throwing money around. So the state needs money for development. Remember, the money is for the development of the state, and it doesn't go to any private pocket. Now, APC has complied, and I was before now wondering why they have not been able to comply, because I've seen the candidate giving different religious groups 50 million, 100 million, and he has been distributing such amount of money. But I was thinking that if you can do so to the state coffers to help development, maybe it may be fine. The argument of whether it is big or small may be left for another day. But for the fact that other parties like YPP, and you also have Labour Party, ADC, ABGA, these 4 parties before now have complied. So APC is just waking up. Maybe it could be their own money. And if they have done this before now, maybe what happened at Indri couldn't have happened, where they went out to mount outdoor advertisements and they were pulled down by the state authorities over non-payment. It could have averted such scenario. It was an ugly scenario, there's no doubt. But it's good thing they have done it. It is better late than never. And remember, this expires on the Thursday to the election that should be on the 6th of November, because I saw the certificate given to them, it expires. And one wonders, why haven't they done this before now? So to give them more time so that these adverts would have stayed more on the roads on different corners of the state, but they prefer to do it now. Was it a good decision when you know you are still going to do it? Why now when others have started their outdoor campaigns? You could have done it earlier on when you know that you're going to still do it. For me, it was not a good decision for them not to have done it earlier before now, but having done it is good. They have complied.
All right, Alright, so on that very note, we have to look at the headlines we have this very morning on 4 different newspapers and take our conversations. Of course, let's begin with the headlines on Vanguard newspaper. There's this venom headline here that says, healthcare crisis, what government can do to end mass migration of doctors. NMA, NARD, AMLSN, others, they are the ones who are talking about what government can do to stop our doctors from migrating to European countries or even other American countries for greener pastures. Then, about the nameplate, we have CBN warns against Naira abuse, hoarding of currency. The story is on page 19. Expectations of subjects as Obaladuja ascends throne as 44th Olubado is on page 14. That man bows seeks collaboration with Dangote refinery. The story is on page 9. I thought they were doing Aigamoni Kegawo. Aigamoni Kegawo. Alright, because somebody was saying that with what Dangote is running out, of course, those people who own depot, their depots are going to, they're going to become inactive for some time because
most of them are already inactive.
Exactly, because they won't have things to to store there. Then we have this very headline that says restructuring key to Nigeria's sustainable development, SGF. The story is on page 8. Oscar Ibru dies at 67. Oboro Wari others mourn. The story is on page 7 of Vanguard newspaper. UNGA, FG renews call for permanent seat at UN Security Council. The story is on page 26. He has a rider at South Africa's Ramaphosa seeks end to trade weaponization. Tinubu honors Ogoni form, moves to restart oil production in Ogoniland. The story is on page 12. Tinubu meets with ex-Rivers Administrator Ibas, Edu EFCC chair at Aso Rock. The story is on page 12. On the sports column, page 32, FIFA Under-20 World Cup. Zubairu raises hope of lifting elusive trophy in Chile. And these are the headlines we have here on Vanguard newspaper.
And so we proceed to this day newspaper. Some of the stories here, 31 years after their murder, Tinubu honors Ogoni with national awards, has riders, receives reports on Ogoni dialogue, pushes for resumption of oil production, promises communities federal support. On page 14 or 34, fuel subsidy scam, ex-VP's aide defense Jonathan urges Otedola to name culprits. Oshun government lawyer, despite court judgment pending suit, finance minister plans to pay Oshun fund to court-sacked chairman on page 3. NUPRC refutes 8.4 trillion naira oil theft report, says crude losses cut by 90% in 4 years. At 80th anger, Tinubu renews demand for Nigeria's permanent seat on UN Security Council. The riders seek sovereign debt relief, access to trade financing. Another one wants nations hosting minerals to benefit more. Calls for closure of widening digital divide. Reiterates two-state solution as way out of Israel-Palestine crisis. And of course, that's on page 9 of This Day newspaper.
I must say that I tried to go through that very statement which the vice president presented on behalf of the president at the UNGA, and I saw the bullet point where they raise issues that they think that UN has to revisit and see that African countries, including Nigeria, are given a pride of place in that committee of nations. Then we look at the headlines on Punch newspaper. Beside the nameplates, this one says, I will protect Yoruba interests if elected president. Atiku is saying so. I think it has become very obvious that Atiku is positioning for the president by 2027. And then banner headline says NNPCL secures 318 billion naira to fund new oil exploration. The story is on page 2. It has riders FAC subcommittee probes spending for frontier exploration. Budget office warns Nigeria losing 60% of oil income. National oil firm pays zero dividend to Federation account despite 1.06 trillion profit. Experts push private exploration. UNGA Tinubu aligns with calls for Palestinian state. The story is on page 18. Infrastructure decay cost Abuja Kaduna train derailment. NSIB. The story is on page 23. Tinubu receives Ogoni report honor slain leaders. You see the picture story of Mr. President, NSA Nuhu Ribadu, Governor of River State, Fubara, and then the chairman of that very committee. That's the picture story there. And the headline says Osun Rights FG challenges local government fund disbursement. It's on page 16. Motorists stranded as flood overruns Lagos communities. The story is on page 4 and 5. Abas meets Tinubu EFCC chair in Aso Rock. It's on page 30. I don't know, Chisom, if you saw the videos that came out yesterday regarding the flooding in Lagos State, especially in the Lekki area where people now swim to come out from their houses because there was a downpour in Lagos State.
Lekki is literally the headquarters of flooding in Lagos. But of course, I keep asking why year in, year out, we know something is happening. Now, this is not like some sort of natural disaster. Take a look at what happened in China a few days ago. As a typhoon something. I've forgotten the name right. I can't place the name right now. But the Chinese authorities started warning earlier. People were evacuated and stuff like that. Now, this is not like something that they can control and didn't go ahead to control. But when you look at the flooding incidents we have in some parts of the country, they look like things that if only we employ man-made solutions. These are not like typhoons. They are not. It takes the kind of rainfall we have in Nigeria. There are some places that have the same quantity of rainfall in like 10 folds in the same period of time, and they manage to contain it. What I find difficult to understand is how year in, year out, things as basic as this, we still cannot handle. With the man-made issues coming up, with the citizens also contributing to how difficult it is to tackle this yearly flooding incidents.
And interesting is that in that lake where these things happen, if you go there for accommodation, the rent is as crazy as crazy.
Off the hook. Really sad.
All right.
Okay, so we are going over to the next paper on our desk this morning, and of course, it is the Guardian newspaper. The banner headline here: political parties versus all SPVs row over rights. Multiple dormant parties as INEC considers 14 more. This is on page 6. FG honors Ogoni 4 to resume all production in communities on page 29. I bet honoring Ogoni 4 and also all the things that led to the murder of these 4 people some years ago, I find it difficult to understand why the issues that led up to these things have still not been totally addressed. You know, they still have issues of environmental pollution. They still have issues of all drilling companies not taking care of things the way they should, not disposing of residue properly. I wonder if really we are willing to take care of issues, I mean foundational issues, over, you know, things like posthumous honors and all of that. After that, what next? The living are still suffering for the same things that these people died for. Also on the Guardian newspaper, 2027, article quotes Southwest votes pledges to unite Nigeria on page 3. Tinubu summons Ibas to Aso Rock amid Asa Villa amid financial probe on page 3. Reps raise panel to monitor Tinubu's Naira for crude policy on page 3. NSIB links Abuja Kaduna train derailment to poor maintenance on page 30. LASG deploys survey to manage HIV spread and treatment on page 7. Franklin, did you come across the story that trended some days ago about bag chasers?
No.
This researcher said there are people who go about looking for a way to get infected with HIV. For some, it is the thrill of saying, I have the virus. And for some, it is curiosity, knowing how the body reacts to the virus. And funnily, it is not something new. It's been around for a couple of decades. People really exist who want to get the virus.
You know what? I think it was Rasta that did a song that titled "Crazy Things," right?
Yeah.
Is that Rasta?
Crazy things are happening.
So the thing is this: crazy things happen in the country, and sometimes when you see people who drive these very crazy things, the people who call the celebrities or the people who call the influential persons. Wasn't it 2 days ago that one person came out to say that she's going to break a Guinness World Record?
Oh yeah.
For the number of men she's going to see within a day. That's the crazy thing.
But the funniest part is someone already set a record for that.
Of course.
And she is out to break that person's record. But like I said, crazy things are happening. Yeah, I recall the first time that someone actually started talking about bug chasing was as far back as the 1990s. And of course, we're going to take a look at some more stories on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Anger at 80, Tinubu urges sweeping UN reforms, permanent seat at UNSC amid global shift on page 8. FG renews commitment to ending torture, upholding human rights on page 20. And of course, Oberwari Momodu mourners Oscar Ibru dies at 67. This story is on page 4.
Okay, so we're going to begin our conversation. Stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You are listening to the Polity, Thursday edition, this 25th day of September 2025. My name is Franklin and Chisom, and Olisa Mbeki. All of us are together for today's conversation, and we have to look at the first headline we have this very morning, which is about the sighting of Ebas at the Aso Rock yesterday, because yesterday the immediate past River State Administrator Vice Admiral Ebuka Franklin was in Aso Rock, where he was received by Mr. President in the company of Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun. There was also the Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Olukayode there. Ebas, who bowed out as Rivers Administrator on September 17th, after spending 6 months on the saddle, was said to have arrived at the presidential villa at about 6 p.m. and he was ushered into the meeting by Wale Edun and the Olukayode of the EFCC. And guess what? This is coming 3 days after the former administrator rejected calls by River State House Assembly to probe spendings during his 6 months watch. We know that on the very first day that the assembly sat, they talked about the need for them to probe how the money of the city was expended within that very 6 months that he held sway. And we saw that very reaction that came from his assistant on media, saying that he has no case to answer, that if the assembly is going to probe him, that it amounts to probing Mr. President who appointed him. But yesterday, when he was seen with President, EFCC Chairman, and the Coordinating Minister of Finance, people began to read meaning into what could be in the offing. They were asking questions whether the President wants to probe him or there is anything that they want to circumvent. And since then, we haven't had any official communication regarding what happened yesterday, but inferences are being drawn. So for Tony, I don't know if he's been able to draw an inference from what happened yesterday at Aso Rock.
We have not been told exactly why he was summoned, but everybody is trying to speculate that he was summoned because he received above 500 billion from both IGR and FAC allocation while he was there as the sole administrator for that very period in time. And many could not see anything on ground apart from conducting the local council election. Nigerian election that's INEC, their total budget for conducting general election has always been about 300 billion naira. But Ibas for receiving over 400 billion naira in that period, and they need to find out what he used it for. Though remember, there will be payment of salaries, and then both pension, other entitlements, engagement, debt, servicing, deductions, and so many things. You understand that. But when these things are done, deductions made, salaries paid, and everything, what is left? And recall why he was there. Even the local government funds, he was able to access. And these things are being summed up. But just like somebody said, in probing him is just like probing Mr. President. For the fact that we all know that he went there illegally, unconstitutionally, it's still before the court until the court says otherwise. And whatever activities he must have conducted while holding sway could be said to be illegality until proven otherwise by the court. So if he has any account to render to anybody, that will be to the person that sent him, that's Mr. President. And if the Mr. President decides to ask him to account for one or two things or reports he must have got from the governors or members of the State House of Assembly, is now left for him to render such account. But on the part of the State House of Assembly, when they have said that they will probe him, just like I said, they are just ranting. Nothing of such would happen. Is it part of the mandate given to them? Is it in line with the terms and conditions of the agreement? Remember, River State is governed by not just the Constitution, but by the terms and conditions of the peace agreement reached by the warring parties. So it's important they understand that. But then, if the probe, according to some reports, may involve discrepancies in allocations from the Federation accounts, but just like I said, details like the exact amount of specific allegations, these things are still in the realms of speculation. Yes, he was there. Just like you said, the time he arrived, and we saw the EFCC chairman, Olukoyede, he was also there. The discussions were held behind closed door. Until they let us know the content of discussion, we can't just sit here and claim to be clairvoyant to extrapolate or to even predict what the content could be all about. But the only thing I can say now is I'm concerned about what the court will say. That's sealed before the court. That is where my concern is. Because once that report comes out or the case is resolved, we now know what is our law or what forms part of our law, especially when emergency rule is declared. So the issue of preliminary objection, as we have seen in the case of Kiri State and Plateau State, and other technicalities deployed, who has right or who doesn't have right to bring the matter, these things were carefully avoided. But let's see what happens. So it was an opportunity for him. If you were there are many Nigerians that will tell you what an opportunity for you to superintend over billions in a shortest possible time. You know what that means? And these things are before you without any form of checks. So it was an opportunity, a lifetime opportunity that he was given.
That from what he has picked up already, that it appeared that certain amount of money is missing and it has not been accounted for. Perhaps that's why the River State House Assembly decided to move in to probe and know how this money was spent. And they are trying to read some meanings into what is happening. Some people are saying that it appears like somebody wants to nail Ibas. That's what I'm saying. That it appears somebody wants to nail Ibas, but this very somebody is who I do not know. Is it Wike who wants to nail Ibas? Was he not in concert when he was appointed in River State?
There are so many dynamics to this. Wike may not be all out to nail Ibas, as the report may have it, but he may have concerns over state accounts. Remember, he has interest.
Sorry, forgive me, but what would possibly be Wike's interest in all of this? I mean, in terms of nailing Ibas, if someone wants to nail Ibas, would it be Wike? Would Ibas being the sole administrator of River State have been a decision made without Wike being in the know?
No, that's another argument. Okay, let me say another narrative saying that Wike's boys who were in the government that Ibas managed, that they could be the ones who are engineering what is playing out now.
Wike, remember, has boys, has men, has people under him, and they give him all manner of briefs, and he works on those briefs. There was this statement that came out from Fubara, even before they were thrown into full-blown crisis, where it was alleged that Rivers State generates about more than 24 billion naira as IGR, but about how many is accounted? 12 or thereabouts, where it was alleged, it's still in the realm of allegation, that was Wike style. Generate 24, takes 12, which will be unaccounted for, and then account for 12. That it was one of the things Fubara stopped, and then made sure that the money does not go to Wike again, and it will be deployed for state use, which, according to those purveyors of this story, didn't go well with Wike. That is one of the issues he had with Wike. Probably why Ibas was there. Did Ibas give Caesar what belongs to Caesar? If that amount had been meant to be channeled into certain accounts overseen by Wike allegedly, did he do that? Because it could be part of instructions that so many things are not telling us. If Ibas had gone there, blocked the money before now that usually get into certain accounts, for him, he may have done that on the condition that he does not understand the terms and conditions of those ones. But could it be that he was also told, or he was in the know? So there are a lot of discrepancies. Probably they are reconciling their accounts. This account reconciliation is all about interest reconciliation. They all have interest. The problem they have in River State is purely and basically money and having control of grassroots. These are two things. Having grassroots control and then the money. These are the two issues they have, and these are the problems they are having. So if the IBAS has done the first one, which is to give back the control to Wike, which he has done, what about the money? What about the money within that 6 months period? Or did he also divert to his own account? If he divert to his own account, did he give anybody courts? Because in Nigeria, you know what is running, that I have my own court. Court is more like IWC. Did you give those who believe that they were instrumental to his appointment their own IWC? And these are River State funds. So what could be the problem? Could be the money for IWC, which many will tell him we were instrumental, we orchestrated this crisis, and we also mentioned their name. Did you give us our own IWC? If you don't give us our own IWC, we are going to open your own side, so that the president will also know. I think these are probably what could be going on, but they're trying to reconcile their accounts and their interests.
Because if you look at the enormosity of the calls that have been made for his time to be probed, you keep on wondering. Nigerians had maybe, so let's say people of River States are suddenly becoming, so interested in knowing how their money is spent. Somebody might want to do that. Then on the other hand, now let's even talk about the person of Ibas. He's not new when you talk about Nigeria, of course. If you're going to look back to his record in the past, was he known for anything illegal? Was he known for corruption, that this kind of calls are coming that he should be probed?
I think if he was known for corruption, he couldn't have been easily deployed there. Yes, probably there were allegations during his time as the chief of naval staff. Remember, he retired as a naval chief. So there could be such allegations, but none was proven, and that could be the reason he was deployed there. But the fact remains, what the problem could be is issue of sharing the spoil. Sharing the spoil, that's just the problem. Then he believed that what they should have gotten from him probably was not given to him, and he could have also pillaged what they had thought or what they had expected from him to either himself or to someone else. See, it's a case of sharing the spoil, sharing River State funds and resources. And for many who had thought that he did not do it as agreed, it's just the issue. That was why Mr. President had a closed-door meeting between him and then the EFCC chairman. So EFCC couldn't even move on. They couldn't even move in to look into the books. Why? If we have institutions working, Mr. President does not need to invite EFCC chairman for anything. EFCC should be allowed to do its work. Running to the office of Mr. President, yes, probably if there is any need for report or whatever need, but it should be seen to work independently. But people will tell you how independent is EFCC. They do when they are instructed by the presidency to do anything, not when it is required. And for those, I think there are those who may have brief or hold brief for IBAS, they will say nobody has written any petition against IBAS. That these people who have been making one case or the other, they have not written petition. And there's no petition before EFCC on anything against IBAS. But there are those that will tell you that even the ones we have written in the past, before EFCC or to EFCC, has EFCC done anything? There were many petitions written against certain former governors that EFCC never acted on, for the fact that they were on the good side of the presidency as at that time. And when there is any fallout, you see them to act. So that tells you how weak our institutions are. They do things on the directions and directives of the paymasters of the presidency, who appoints, directs. So it shouldn't be that way.
Now, if eventually that anything is thrown up against IBAS, do you see the presidency shielding him, having in mind that sometime in this administration, a former minister for humanitarian affairs, Betty Edu, was accused of corruption, and she was not spared?
So far, do you have anything to say about the case? She was not spared. She was shown the exit door. But having been shown the exit door, what next? How is the case proceeding?
Were we even told anything about the investigation of that matter? Were we even told anything about recoveries? We were only told monies were expended, Tony, but were they recovered? And what was the end point of that investigation, Tony? And then, okay, sticking with the story of IBAS, do you think that the persons who sent him on this errand would really sanction his probe?
The point could be IBAS may be asked to bring anyone remaining, and it could be click settlement. For me, what is going on is click settlement. They know themselves.
So it appears that you already considered, or rather you have considered, that money was paid for.
That is it. There's no way that will not be possible under existing circumstances and circumstances we have around us. If that is the case. But the issue now is, how did it go? Whose interest did you serve in the area of that money? Did you serve Mr. ABCDE interest? Whose interest did you serve? So that is the case. Even for this, the River State House of Assembly, remember, whenever they speak, is Wike is speaking. Take it or leave it. Anytime the River State House of Assembly under Martin Amewule, anytime he talks, anytime he speaks, the person speaking is Wike. So it tells you that Wike is not happy with the way and manner IBAS spent certain amounts. Possibly his interest was not served as expected. So for them to say we are going to probe IBAS, they may not do that unless Mr. President gives them authorization, because they have to work under terms and conditions. We have to understand these things.
Okay, so let's go to what happened yesterday also at the Aso Rock, where the president conferred national honors of the commander of the Order of Niger, CON, posthumously on former Ogun leaders in the persons of Albert Bade, Edward Kobani, Theophilus Oraje, and Samuel Oraje. And these very people, four of them, they were known as Ogoni 4. The yesterday, after the president received a report from Ogoni consultation committee at the presidential villa, that was when it was declared that these persons have been honored posthumously. And at the end of the day, the president enjoined the people of Ogunland to embrace reconciliation and unity after decades of division. And from what we also understand yesterday, there's now a plan to begin or to restart oil exploration in Ogoniland, which we know that I think since 1992, 1993, it stopped after there were agitations about oil spillage and the environmental degradation. So, Tony, let's look at this move which was taken by Mr. President. And it's not the very first time he's honoring, should I say, Ogoni activists. In the last honor which he bestowed on some Nigerians, that was during our Democracy Day. Of course, some persons were honored. This time around, Ogoni 4, we are also honored with a national award. What do you make of this very move?
I will first and foremost, for those who may not have interest in this story, to have a kind of interest, we have to do some kind of background stories about this. When we talk about Ogoni 4, remember we have Ogoni 9 and we have Ogoni 4. And remember, the last time Mr. President conferred national honors to so many Nigerians during the Democracy Day, that was June 12th, Mr. President conferred posthumous honors to Ogoni 9. He did not do to Ogoni 4. And I know some of you will ask, what is the difference between Ogoni 9 and Ogoni 4? Remember, these Ogoni 4, about Bade, Edward Kubani, Theophilus Oraje, and Samuel Oraje, they were killed on May 21st, 1994, in Gyokuol village, Gokana local government area of River State. How were they killed? In fact, they were killed before the Ogoni 9 were executed. Ogoni 9 were executed in 1995. Then the Ogoni 4 were killed in 1994. So that was around 21st of May. They were killed when there was a full-blown crisis in that area. They were attending a meeting during the period of intense division within Ogoni over the movement for the survival of the Ogoni people, Mosob. They were seen to be somehow on the side of the government. This Ogoni 4. Ogoni 9 were seen to be fully on the side of the Ogoni people, and they launched this issue of Mosob movement for the survival of the Ogoni people. Why they were attending the meeting? Because the meeting they were attending was to see how to resolve the crisis that was going on between Mosob and the Shell Petroleum Limited. They were attacked and beaten to death by a mob. So government security forces later blamed King Sarowiwa and other Mosob leaders for inciting the killing of these 4 people. And this accusation was the pretext for the arrest, trial, and eventual execution of the Ogoni 9. Ogoni 4 deaths was the reason Ogoni 9, let's just call it the immediate reason, because these Ogoni 9 have been on the watch list of the government over the disturbances in Ogoni land, what they were doing to show how they had stopped production and inciting all manner of unrest in that region. Abacha was not taking it lightly with any of them. In fact, immediately this 4 died. This Ogoni 4 died. That was the immediate reason Ogoni 9 were arrested. So when they were arrested, we know the 9 was led by Kenenule, Bisin Sarowiwa, well known as Ken Sarowiwa. In fact, we know how they were executed by Abacha. Remember, they were making key demands. They were talking about environmental protection. They felt that the environment at that time had been greatly and grievously degraded. Oil pollution. They were asking for compensation and restoration of their lands. They were asking for fair share of oil revenue. You can come to our land and take everything. They were also asking for greater control of oil resources within their area. And they were also asking the right to participate fully in managing Ogoni affairs and self-determination within Nigeria. They started on this issue of, immediately they stopped their own. Wazirike started his own, is it Masob? Right, Masob, yeah. So there were other things they were asking for. Now, I'm just giving you a background story about this, and then the reason why Mr. President honored this for. But we must also know that Ogoni land contains some of Nigeria's richest oil field. We are told that about 100 oil wells across these major fields. There is a field in Bomu, there is a field in Korokoro, there is a field in Yola. There are many fields, over 100 oil fields In fact, there was this estimate put together that was in 1993 that Ogoni land has over 900 million barrels of crude oil with a potential proven reserves of over 1 billion barrels still in the ground. That will tell you what has been untapped since 1993. Oil production stopped. From 1993 to now should be how many years? That should be roughly around 33 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 33.
33 years. So that tells you that for the past 33 or 32 years, this is what has not been assessed as a result of political crisis, communal crisis, economic crisis. But the truth remains that Shell, remember, Ogoni people, they filed a lawsuit, the one they filed in the United States of America against Shell. They had won different cases, but have been able to establish how these Ogoni 4 were killed by mob, allegedly led by Ken Saro. They were attending meeting on how to resolve the crisis, Mossop crisis in that Ogoni land. But there was a committee set up by Mr. President because he had on June 12th honored the 9 that were executed, because these 9 were more prominent because of the way and manner they were executed by Abacha over the death of this Ogoni 4. But Mr. President felt that there was need to do more work, because there were those who felt disenchanted that these 4 Ogoni people were fathers, we are community leaders. You cannot just do nothing around them and focus your attention on Ogoni 9. That was why Mr. President set up a committee, and that very committee, I think consultation and dialogue process committee, and it was that committee that recommended that he has to honor the 4 as he honored the 9. So that was how Mr. President did what he did yesterday by conferring on the Ogoni 4 posthumous award, and he also instructed the National Security Advisor New Ribadu to begin certain engagements so that we go back and start oil production in earnest, saying that the cleanup will just commence. Remember Buhari had tried the cleanup. That was in 2016. In fact, I followed that program where it was estimated that over $1 billion will be needed to clean Ogoni land because of degradation, pollution, whatever. They cannot even farm, they cannot do anything. And Ogoni has, I think, principally 4 local governments in River State: Kana, Gokana, Tai, and Eleme local government. These are, I think, principally the 4 local governments that Ogoni land is situated in. And I've told you what lies in that land. That land is made up of milk and honey. But the country because since this Ogoni crisis started in 1993, no oil production has taken place there.
Let's look at the economic implications or dimension to this, because some people are saying that what the president is doing in Ogoni land is like a masterstroke, trying to ensure that Nigeria begins to tap again from once supplier of gold to Nigeria, so to say. Now, so do you think that what Mr. President is doing is a tactical masterpiece that is going to bring Nigeria going back to Ogoni land, and then doing the cleanup and at the same time benefiting from the natural deposit in that very land?
What we have in that Ogoni land, we cure both education crisis in Nigeria, health crisis in Nigeria. This, in fact, if we say whatever we are going to gain from that Ogoni land, we are going to channel it into education and health.
Put a caveat. If we decide to genuinely
if that's what I'm saying, if we decide to do that, it will take care of major problem we have in our health and education. In fact, it will make many Nigerians to go to school for free, and that is the extent of the resources untapped in that land. Since 1993, this crisis began between the Ogoni people and the Shell Limited. So it tells you that what Mr. President is doing is trying to go back to what he knows that can change the narrative. We are crying for funds. We are crying for money. Do you know what it means to have over 100 oil wells? Do you know what it means to have over 1 billion barrels of crude oil. You know what that is? And also have such equivalent in reserve.
Tony,
So it tells you a lot.
understood. While that is understood, I'm just curious to find out, are we not still on the path of trying to reduce our dependence on oil-based revenue and everything oil? Yes, what is in Ogoni is massive. I get it. But there are countries that still have all that, and let them be and try to build other parts of their economy. Going back to this, isn't it? Going back to the oil we are trying to reduce the dependence on.
There are many countries in the world that will always tell you that they don't have this. Most countries in the world, they depend on taxations. Germany, taxes. Most countries depend on taxes for them to do the work of government. But remember, yes, we are trying as much as possible to diversify our revenue, our economy, to diversify the economy so that we have multiple streams of revenue. And you cannot do away with the ones you have already. What we are trying to say here is that do as much as you are doing in the oil to non-oil sector. Don't just concentrate on oil sector. Do so. Just the other day we talked about the service sector, and I was able to point out a number of units on that service sector, which we are told by the recent release of the MBS that generated 50-something% of the GDP growth. We are talking about that every day. So it tells you a lot. So we need more diversification as we are getting into oil, just as we cannot leave what we have in Ogoni land over what we know we can solve. What Mr. President is doing, for me, he is in right direction because he is trying to ensure justice for all. But the Ogoni people, I think there is one thing they are asking Mr. President. They told Mr. President there is difference between pardon and exoneration. That during the 2025 posthumous honor conferred on the Ogoni 9, you gave them pardon. That for you to pardon somebody, it means that the person was actually guilty of the offense. Remember, these men were tried by the military tribunal, where they were not given any chance for appeal. It was not a regular court that tried them. They were tried by military tribunal. The military never wanted to hand them over to the conventional court. They could have done that and let them have their way at that. But they were convicted by a military tribunal based on the directives of the military government of General Sani Abacha at that time. So they believe that Mr. President should change that pardon to exoneration. When you exonerate somebody, it also means that the person committed nothing. Probably it was as a result of some of charges, but nobody wants to focus on that aspect of conversation. What Mr. President is all after is to restore full peace. But there will never be full peace without full justice. Justice is an essential material, an essential ingredient for a lasting peace. So I think in that direction, they should also look into that. The Ogoni for me, what Mr. President has done is massive. These leaders were killed by mob. Incited by who? Because we can't say it was Ken Saro that incited those that mobbed these four. But we know there was crisis already. And it was seen that he was leading the mob. That a mob leader may know about the killing of the four. So for you to restore justice to the families of these four, that we are trying to bring peace, I think Mr. President has done good. And we must also commend the committee that recommended that these four be honored. So while we are doing that, we know that the target is to start oil production in Ogoniland, which has for long stopped. And there is no way oil production can be opened up there if remediation process has given or ruled in many cases. That's more reason why Shell ran away and so many things. And because you look at the money, it's so massive.
Can we make a reference now? Because you rightly referenced the fact that under the past administration of Muhammad Buhari, that there was an attempt to clean up Ogoniland. And we obviously waited for it to happen. It never happened. And now we have seen Mr. President trying to make that very move. Don't forget that yesterday, when they had that very convergence at the national, not at the Aso Rock, that the chairman of the dialogue committee, Don Baridam, he said that the committee ensured all stakeholders were carried along in the process. And he also noted that the report reflects the collective will of the Ogoni people. This very person I'm talking about, Baridam, he's actually a professor, and he said that the report captured people's demand for structured participation in oil production, renewed environmental cleanup, and a framework for sustainable development. Now, we have seen the report, and the next thing will now be, so how do we now get to put life to the report so that what happened to Millie will not happen to Ite?
I also would like to point out before you answer, Tony, it is one thing for the cleanup to happen and they start drilling again, Tony. But if they start drilling again, we're going to have fresh spillage, isn't it? Have we worked towards putting mechanisms in check so much so that when drilling eventually starts again, the Ogoni people would not go back to living the lives they were living that led to the establishment of Mossop and the Ogoni 9 and the Ogoni 4 incidents? Are we even factoring this into the conversation that we are having today?
There are recent mechanisms and standards that have been set when it comes to oil exploration. Remember, you're either giving OPL or OML. Many don't even know this. OPL is oil prospecting license for you to explore to know if there is oil deposit. Then you have oil mining license where you start exploration, you start the drainage. But why I'm just trying to bring that is for us to understand that for you now to explore oil, just start oil production, there are standards already that must be abided with, no doubt. Remember what happened 3 years ago. There are so many technology we have when we petroleum crude has a lot of products, byproducts. You're gonna talk about gas. There are so many products. In fact, if you don't even know, there are over 500 byproducts extracted from the crude. Raw crude is used to produce quite a lot of things. Most of these places we use, most of the car materials, anything, it supports so many times in areas rubber could have done something. You use crude. There are things rubber before now we use rubber to produce, but we have started using one of the byproducts of crude to just get those things done. But you asked a very important question. These oil companies, if they go back to this site, would they just go on to degrade the environment? And remember, these are good people that are known very well as farmers, fishermen. These were things that we are into. They can't farm on their land. If you go to their rivers, to their stream, their lakes, oil spillage taking over. There's nothing they can. There's nothing they can do, and they need development. You can't have something of such magnitude. That place wouldn't look like mini Dubai. That place should be like Dubai. They should have everything at their own beck and call. If you have a land rich with milk and honey, and they are asking for greater participation in oil production. So the issue of whether they will continue the way Shell did while they were there, I think it may have been resolved by time. Time has taken care of some of the things. So you must work with certain standards. So you can't just go on and do it anyhow, the way these things were done in the past, when technologies were not so rife. So that's taken care of. But the issue is they need development. They need to have infrastructures, and these companies should have their headquarters there. You can't have your headquarters in Lagos and Abuja. You pay taxes there and come to Ogoniland and then extract oil. Who does that? If you want to work there, you must have your headquarters there. Or you must have, even if it's not a headquarters, you can also have your offices there, well situated. And the roads must be done. Hospitals, schools, security, structures, infrastructures of different kinds. These are things these people are begging for, and they have what it takes to make that place look like what it should be. And Mr. President has said that he's committed in developing Ogoni. But Buhari tried it. He went there and launched it. In fact, he did audio launching of Ogoni cleanup in line with United Nations environmental programs. Remember, they had projected that over $1 billion is needed to clean up that environment. Buhari said he would do it. During the day of launching, Ogoni people threatened Buhari not to even touch that very land. They threatened President Buhari that he should not come to their land. And then the military defied the threat and said nothing will happen and all that. And many of them said that they have gone into the creeks. And I was waiting that very day. In fact, the last time information got to many of us that were following the program, had it that Mr. President will eventually get to Ogoniland and do what was expected of him. All of a sudden, we heard that something happened and Mr. President cannot come again. And what Mr. President did was, I think it was online launching of the cleanup exercise. But because he did not see to restoration of peace and justice first, and he had wanted to go on to issue of cleaning because he found that the problem then was just to clean up the land. But the problem was not just environmental cleanup. There was demand for justice. And that's how the current president has started. He started with that demand for justice. Okay. And he was able to calm the frayed nerves. And then the issue of cleanup definitely will begin.
All right. So let's go to the under headline we have on Guardian newspaper, which talks about political parties or SPVs row over rights, multiple demand parties as INEC considers 14 more. Of course, it's no longer news that INEC is considering registering 14 new political parties, but it has generated some reactions, and we are having divided opinions on whether we need more political parties in Nigeria or not. Because some persons are saying that the ones we have, they have not lived up to expectation. They haven't been able to, widen the political space and civic space for Nigerians. Rather, it appears to be like, a special purpose vehicles for politicians to negotiate on how they are going to get funds during the election. And they are saying, do we need more political parties for Nigeria to be able to experience democracy, or we should be content with the number we have and see how we can make them to become ideological and help Nigerians to deepen democracy?
When we talk about making these political associations once registered to have ideological leaning as it should be, I tell you, I find it that most political parties in Nigeria, they are center left. If you look at political ideology spectrum, majority of them, they are center left, but they are on that without expressive thoughts or agenda. Because it's one thing for you to be on center left, and it's another thing for you to express your agenda, and then look at those things that those who usually be at center left look out for, and how you are going to get those things done. So the point I'm trying to make is that most political parties in Nigeria, yes, they don't have expressive agenda that confers them on that very spectrum. Many of them are on the center left, and then that's why they tell you they are progressives. In fact, no matter how you look at it, majority of political parties in Nigeria, they're on the center left. They are not on the center right, because immediately after center left, you have centuries. After centuries, you have center right. From center right, you have center. You have after center, right, you have the rightists, and you have the extremists on the right. So we know the spectrum. But the point remains that the law says once they meet the requirements, and we have been able to extrude the requirements each time we talk about it. And it was one of the landmark judgments delivered by the Supreme Court when Obasanjo had attempted to stop more registration of political parties, when he had wanted it to remain with just ANPP, AD, and PDP as it were then. It was the landmark judgment that led to the registration of likes of ABGA and some other political parties that came on board at that time. They were registered at sometime around 2002. So, and the court has made it very clear that INEC cannot stop registration of political parties. They cannot. Once political associations have met the requirements, and these requirements, we have said it many times, you must have the spread, you must have constitution, you must have a governing council, and you must have your presence in 24 states, and then you must not be faith-based, you must not INEC to delist once they are unable to win election, because the idea of registration is for you to come into political arena, context for political offices, and at the same time have votes cast for you, not for special purpose vehicle, as you rightly pointed out. There's not that many of them who are coming in now, they are special purpose vehicle. They are just there to sell candidate form, to sell this, to sell that, and at any point in time, if any person couldn't have a ticket of a major political party, they sell the ticket to the person and use it to make money. That's what many of them have been doing. They are not interested in winning any seat. They are interested in using it to make money. But how long would you do that? Once you can't win seat, or you can't have some sizable number of votes, you will be delisted. You will be removed. But for them, they must have made a fortune even before they will be delisted. So that's how they see it.
Well, I am curious to find out why INEC has not been taking steps towards preventing this from happening. Surely we cannot keep having such charlatans disrupt the, what I call it, the already fragile kind of electoral system that we have. And I'm also curious to find out, Tony, when people support these sort of parties, do they still actively get involved when it comes to doing what is needed via voting and all of that? Because looking at the 2023 general election, had about 24%, if I'm not mistaken, of registered voters voting. And with all of this massive long line of political parties we have, it's expected that we're supposed to have more voter turnout, because all of them are supposed to be canvassing individually. So where they are not putting the work, they are not working the talk, why is INEC letting them, litter everywhere? And why is INEC even letting them turn the entire political party thing into a money-making venture?
INEC has no power to stop registration of any political association that has met the requirements of the law. So it is not INEC thing to register. They have no powers to stop registration. Once any political association meets the requirements of the law, INEC not just mandated, the law says they must be registered. That's what the law says. So even if they're
doing the law to stop all of this,
I think we have to go back and look at both the Electoral Act and the Constitution as well.
Is it to make it more stringent?
Make it more stricter. That's not out. Make it so that it will be, when we say they must have presence in 24 states, we can take it up to 30 states. But these people, just like I have always said, they can rent flats, a room in all the states of the Federation. And that presence, the Constitution and the law did not even maybe explain deep. Just have presence. What it means, you must have an office. It did not say the kind of office you are going to have. If you have a room office, it's part of the office. So these things are easy for these people to come up with and then get registered. But INEC cannot stop them. But one thing is that as they are coming for registration, they will also be deregistered. There was a time we had almost 80-something political parties in this country. And it was sometimes very, very difficult for INEC to conduct it, because if you look at the ballot paper, it will be so long, and INEC will try to make the logos of the political parties to be tiny, so to reduce the lengthiness of the ballot paper. So these people don't even see these things that way. And I've always said we must look at the third schedule of the Constitution, the functions we have assigned INEC. We need to unbundle it. I was just going through that.
So do you think that if we're going to have independent candidacy, is going to help to control this penchant for people to float political parties? Take for instance, because you made reference to history. Around 1999, we had only 3 political parties that contested for that election. The one that ushered us into democracy from military era. And then in 2003, it got to 28 in number, and later in 2007, it increased to 50. By 2011, it had climbed to 63, and later in 2015, it dropped to 27, after some of them were deregistered. But interestingly, in 2019, we had a record 91 political parties that contested for election. And then later it was thrown down to 18, which we have now. And INEC wants to register another 14, for them to join the 18 we have already. Now, where I'm going to is, if we are concerned that we are having these multiple parties that are not serving the purpose for which they are meant for, if we're going to bring in independent candidates, is it going to solve this? And secondly, if we're going to have a control on number of parties we have, would it be a limitation on people's freedom to choice?
Yeah, you have to consider it too. If you allow independent candidacy through the amendment we are talking about now, there are those that will prefer to be independent, at least those who will be contesting for State House of Assembly election, and those who will be contesting for local council election. They may try to go independent based on their popularity without the rigorous processes of being demanded to give this or give that to political parties. It will get a long way. I think it will have more effect on local elections like State House of Assembly election or federal constituencies. We have, but Even senatorial election, it will have. But when you talk about governorship election, if you're an independent candidate, no matter how popular you are, you need structure, political structures, to get you to that very destination. So
they said Obi defied it.
Obi defied it using both shaky structure of labor and his personality, and it would have defined our political jurisprudence. But it was close. Over, if not for irregularities, it was close. It would have defined or given our political jurisprudence a new leaf. But remember, for the fact it happened to one person does not mean it will happen to so many people. But the point I'm trying to make is, you can't limit the choices people make. People have right to association, as we have in the Constitution. They have right to association, and they have right to make choices where necessary. So if you limit the number of political parties and you cap it, that is no more democracy. Democracy should be as allowed by the will of the people. See, democracy essentially is the will of the people.
Should be.
That's what I'm saying. Essentially is the will of the people, but it depends on your own adaptation. That's what democracy is all about. So once you try to cap something to make it this or make that, you may be shifting from the true or ideal meaning of democracy. The point is there should be a common ground between these two things.
All right, so before we get to open the phone lines and also go for commercial break, that rumor about alleged directive to INEC chairman to proceed on leave. I'm mentioning this because the conventional papers have it that there is suspense because there was this quarterly meeting of INEC that was supposed to hold yesterday and it did not hold, and they are saying that feelers from inside are saying that meeting did not hold because of that directive. So do you think that there could be an iota of substance in this same flying around now?
Not do I think, it's my opinion. Mahmoudi Yakubu has been directed by Mr. President to proceed on terminal leave, even before the expiration of his tenure. But what I cannot dabble into is the other side of the rumor, the reason why it was so. Because according to some reports, they say that for allowing more registration of political parties, 14 political parties that have been registered, that it altered the plan. That's the rumor now. The plan of the APC for the next election. That they were trying to contend with the present political dynamics. All of a sudden, he rushed the registration of the 14 new political parties, likes of ADA, and some of these parties that would also make the opposition to have a leeway to shift bases, like Chameleon. They are trying to pigeonhole the opposition and contend with them. You now went and registered 14 more political parties in line. Why can't you delay it? Why can't you use technicalities to delay it in a way that it may be closer to the election, where they may not have that kind of space to group very well to be formidable? And according to the rumor, it was a concern raised by Hope Uzodinma. According to the rumor, that Hope Uzodinma went to Mr. President and told Mr. President that the All Progressives, especially the Governors Forum, they are not really happy with the way and manner Yakubu Mahmoud rushed the registration of these political parties, that it has altered a lot of things for them, and they are trying to do their mathematical calculations and get their calculus right. But Mahmoud Yakubu rushed this, knowing very well that he'll be leaving. So what was it? So that's just the other side of the rumor I don't want to dabble into. But as whether he has been asked to proceed, he has been asked to proceed on a terminal leave. And the other rumor that has it that one Moses Ogbe from Delta State is being touted to replace him, because the other day we talked about Muhammad Liman from Nasarawa State, and now the rumor has it that Moses Ogbe. And who is Moses Ogbe? Moses Ogbe was once the resident electoral commissioner in Lagos State as far back as 2003 when President Tinubu was the governor. And who is pushing for Moses Ogbe, according to the rumor that James Ibori is the one pushing for Moses Ogbe.
Now, so if eventually at the end of the day Mr. President decides to disappoint everybody, what becomes of all these rumors? Stay with us, we'll be right back.
city of Onitsha comes Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, where authentic news and entertainment meet. Udala Radio 104.7 FM, seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, Opa Chande Dosialo. Wendy's bread, Mama Papa they like Wendy's bread, Nachi Chande Nyanduo. Wendy's bread, even children they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Minta. Wendy's bread, get it better tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your bachichoma. Wendy's bread, champion.
Wendy's bread, your tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tandy Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM, seriously authentic.
Okay, so thank you for staying tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM. You are listening to the Polity. My name is Franklin and Ebuka. I have Dr. Olisa Mbeki and Chisom Chinedu with me here in the studio, and we have looked at a couple of things from the pages of newspapers. It's now time for us to open the phone lines for you to join this very conversation. Don't forget we are live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You can join us on that page. Drop your comment. And don't forget that decency in language is the core word, all right? 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6674. Join us. Let's get to have your input on this very conversation. Good morning.
Hello? Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Others from the largest state. Olisa Mbeki, good morning. My lady, good morning, and my friend Franklin, good morning. It's beautiful morning here. Now, what I want to talk about is I must remind us that we live a lot in denial, self-denial. The Ogoni issue comes to mind. Our representative, one of them, Haji Amina, United Nations, she says that. I think it is this Ogoni thing that won her an accolade to go work in United Nations. And then, unfortunately, we have short memory. And we don't ever think of what we have forgotten, what we have thrown away, what we have lost. So we keep talking of what we have to gain. What have we gained when Buhari was test out? What did we lose? How much was something? How much was retried? Those that operated that Ogoni cleanup then, how far did their stewardship go? These are things we must begin to think of. Otherwise, we'll be recorded as one of the most irresponsible nations in the world, or country rather. I don't think I a nation. My own contribution is that we, now President Tinubu is reminding us, the oil, whatever, wealth and all. What of the ones we had before? What of all the oil wells that we have bought in that Ogoni land and river state and delta area and all? What happened? Where are they? What of the, we are building a refinery, we didn't build refinery. What happened to the ones we tried to build? What happened to the money we put in? It has. When you really begin to think of it.
All right.
Now we are thinking of among us putting in more money, doing this more, doing that more, doing that more. What about our children, for crying out loud?
All right.
Now we are
Thank
in their need of food in Nigeria. We're not even thinking about that. We just, all of us say, oh, let's not go and invest in Ogoni land. I rest my case.
All right. Okay, thank you. So Tony, I have this report coming in that Rabi Kwankwaso has written to the APC saying that he's now ready to return to the APC. So we are going to be seeing that very story any moment from now. Hello, good morning.
Thank you. Franklin, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
This is Olisa Johnson. Honorable. Good morning.
You're welcome.
By regard to Chisom in the house. I want to ask a very simple question, Mr. Speaker. Please, can you tell me the yardstick for a national award? From information coming from different quarters, it's like this is the people that was honored with almost yesterday or thereabouts. The activities then was more of regionalistic. And why I'm asking this question is because when we begin to give attention to certain things, or some region begin to end national interest with one thing or the other, we should also be very careful. Because what brought about other regions having their national, development commission is because it was first introduced in Niger Delta area. Then other people begin to go for it. So I want to know, because there are some other regions that are watching killing. And if these things are allowed to come, don't be surprised that other region may rise up tomorrow to agitate for one thing or the other. To end national, attention over what was meted against their fathers. For instance, I'm not trying to bring barricades here, nor deviate from the key discussion. But one thing leads to the other. And therefore, when we converge here, we are here to rub hands together to see what we can do to save our nation. The southeastern region here, so many people are suffering today because of what was melted against us in time past. And we are making it easy today. Yet you have not received any national attention. And now, people who we are regionalistic are today receiving national attention. I want to ask Mr. Speaker, how can we justify this? If other regions rise up tomorrow,
all right, thank you, Monday Johnson.
What was melted against our fathers in time past? Good morning.
All right, thank you. Your question will be attended to later, so that we'll take more calls. And I believe that at the right time, Tony will be able to, marshal out those, criteria for getting national awards. Hello, good morning. Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, your name?
This is the voice of Honorable Ignatius Ogoye on Mauritius Kingdom.
Go on, Ignatius.
See, my speaker, the first day, the National State House Assembly resumed of sitting. They said that they're going to go the bus. That day down on me that there's a problem between weekend and a bus. And that problem is monetary. The Lajan, what they kill, how to divide it. And that my perception is now clear to me that it's true. You see, because you cannot put somebody that's hungry in that position. You will not take money. See, the vulnerable amount of money that was generated in River State, how much did he use to build anything? He just pocket that money for himself. Maybe not give to weekend and the others. That's why they are grouping him. Let us watch and see. Well, after said and done, they have gone to an agreement to share the money within them, and everything will die down. This is Nigeria for you. I'm done, my speaker. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, everyone in the studio.
Good morning.
I am Gedim Ezia Pakego, warming the airwaves from Osumo.
Go on.
Right. I want to advise Nigerian politicians to always learn to do things with due process. You see, going to Ogoni land to give 4 persons a post to hummus honors, that is an inversion of priority. Yes, Buhari tried it during his regime. He failed. The same line is what this present administration is towing, and they are going to fail. Let me advise Nigerian politicians, more especially Tinubu administration, the right thing to do is to holistically and massively invade Ogoni land or South invasion, I mean this time with development. Invade it there with development. Stop thinking about this oil tapping and oil this. Go and massively invade Ogoni land and South or including Southeast. Because what this present administration or Nigeria is doing to Southeast and South calls for marginalization and agitation. Nigerian government should face these areas with massive development, leaving behind what? This tapping of oil, because it is killing by streak. Let Nigeria stop this inversion of priorities. What we need now, South and Southeast need is a massive development. Before looking the other way and looking for something to tap. We don't need this tapping. Nigeria should stop and don't go to Ogoni land to tap anything. First and foremost is development.
All right, thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Thank you for joining. Don't forget that the phone lines are also there available for you to use. 0803 221 6973 or 0803 827 6694. Hello. Okay, so on Facebook we are the Radio 104.7 FM. Good morning. Okay, try again. So Tony, while we're trying to deal with this very call, I think maybe we might take this very time to respond to the questions we have pending. Okay, so let's respond to the questions. Somebody asked a question about the yardstick for giving people national award or national honor.
I think we know very well that there is a National Honors Committee. There is no doubt. And if you talk about the process, I think maybe we are concerned about the way Mr. President pronounced it, as if he didn't pass any process or he didn't go through any process. Well, the truth remains that that very committee is domiciled in the office of the Secretary to the government of the Federation. We have the National Honors Act of 1963, and then for you to be honored, you must have done exceptional service in public service. You must have contributed to national development. You must have sacrificed something, or you must have shown bravery, defending national interests, humanitarian contributions. You must have given this country international recognition. Individuals who have brought honors to Nigeria abroad, and then there must be something special, historical recognition. Maybe I think the National Honors Act also recognizes posthumous award to those who have sacrificed or contributed in a way the nation wants to remember. You must have either sacrificed a life, sacrificed something that even if it was not seen then, but it was later seen as contributing either to national development or it was acted in the interest of the nation. Yes, just like I have always said, the most important thing, there will be nomination, because you ask for process. Citizens, government ministries, state governors, professional bodies, institutions, individuals can nominate. Then there will be the screening commission, because these nominations must go to the National Honors Committee in the office of the Secretary to the government of the Federation. The screening and recommendation and these things, there will be presidential approval. All these things stops at the desk of Mr. President, and once there is presidential approval, next will be investiture. These things can, because the National Honors Act did not say that they must sit so time, they must sit so time, they must sit within so interval. Before Mr. President pronounces you this, definitely maybe the committee, the dialogue committee, recommended, and then that recommendation was taken to the office of the Secretary to the government of the Federation, where he convoked the screening committee where they can do everything in a day, in 2 days, and Mr. President must approve.
All
so
right.
I think
so
answers the question.
Yes, we have about I think we have about 8 yardstick for that. Hello, good morning.
Yeah. Bad most or not.
Go on.
Forget about all this thing Tinubu is doing in Ogoneland. Let me tell you the real politics. Tinubu realized that maybe Jonathan is coming out. Mind them, what Jonathan did not do during his time. So that's what this is politics. Nothing will come out of it. So, but time will tell. But what I'm saying is this. If Tinubu wants to play such politics, Jonathan's vision, anyway, only time will tell. But I want to ask, there is development I saw today and yesterday. Some police stations, they are closed. So what is happening between Pengasin and Dankote? Are they still on this? Because as I'm talking to you, many filling stations were closed, except NNPC.
At where?
At Tingeru here.
Because I didn't observe that yesterday, even this morning. I didn't observe.
You can put call across.
Okay, all right, okay. So Badmont said it could be political, but also on the other side too, the committee that was set up wasn't set up yesterday. The committee had been set up long time ago, and the report was only submitted yesterday.
Yes.
All right. So let's see if we have other callers here. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. And of course, if you get to find out the reason behind the closing of the filling station you reported in the name, of course, we are going to let you know. But like I said, throughout yesterday, I didn't observe any close in Onitsha. Neither did I observe any close in Oka. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning to you, Dr. Olisa Mbeki.
You're welcome.
Chisom, I greet you as well. Voice of Wijasak from Asaba.
Okay, go on.
Okay. What Tinubu did is very good. You know, conferring this wonderful man with national honor. But the truth is that this is, just like many of us have been saying, this is not what we need. Because you going about conferring Ada, Ukunkwa, and Ukwafu, and Ukoyu with national honor doesn't change what is happening. How reasonable is it that you're conferring this with national honor, but what led to their death, you are not even talking about addressing it. The same thing that led to their death is still happening. You understand? The same BS is still going on there. And you're busy conferring each and every one of them with national honor. If I'm not mistaken, just this year alone, Tinubu have conferred many people with national honors without even addressing the issue that led to their death. The same thing that happened back then that led to their death is still happening. And you're busy confirming, and you're too busy going on to confirm many other people with national honor. What the people of Ogoniland need is nothing but development. Go there, clean them up, give them what they need. Do the same to every other region so that they can feel the dividends of governance.
Okay.
Not going around confirming each and every one of the leaders with national honor, but the same rubbish is still going on there. To me, this is the height of emotional insensibility. Just being insensitive to me. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, then let's head over to Facebook and see what you have to say. Stephen Okeziobika says, writing all the way from Germany, good to know. Since whatever happens to Mahmoud Yakubu doesn't concern me. That guy will Nigerian, and Nigerians nan. Interesting. God, long live Anambra State. Thank you, Stephen, for joining us. Maole Barra says, we've been forced to believe that Nigeria cannot rise above board, that our energy system cannot work, that we cannot have quality education as this government has continued to toy with the education of our children. We have continued to lose our erudites and intellectual lecturers to other countries where their potentials are appreciated. That our roads cannot be pothole free, but death traps and slaughter slabs. That our electoral system will continue to be a hoax. Shall we continue this way? God forbid. Shall we continue watching political gladiators turn our government into a game only them can play? Okay. Obiagwike Chukwu, Tinubu has just exercised his fatherly duties over Ibas by calling his children together. I said it earlier that nothing will happen as both EFCC and Ibas are of the same father. Expecting otherwise to happen will be an endless waiting. Thinking of probe against Ibas will amount to nothing as long as the father is at peace with him. Mbechiobi is asking he said that what is happening in River State is a clash of interest. Warrior Chikwa Durum, he says, the question is, or my question is, his question is, will Ibas give a thorough account to the people of Rivers on what he superintended and managed, on how he superintended and managed their finances for 6 months? I see nothing positive coming from the invitation, actually. Also, he said to him the registration of more political parties is just time wasting because that is not the problem right now. Why can't the politicians join hands to fix this country instead of creating more parties? Obina Williams says that yesterday's meeting with EFCC and the Ministry of Finance was a script to confuse gullible Nigerians. On the other hand, for them to take their own share of the spoil, which is the major spoil, was to settle. Yes, okay. Basil Ugu, for decades the Ogoni people have been promised land cleanup and justice, yet billions meant for high prep disappeared with little change on the ground. Now, Tinubu's government has launched another dialogue, raising hopes, but also doubts about sincerity. At the same time, the president asked the INEC chairman to proceed on compulsory leave before his tenure expired. Is this about reform or political control? Both issues point to one big question. Can Nigerians truly trust government institutions to act with integrity, transparency, and fairness? Are we watching the same cycle of betrayal repeat itself? Henry Elu says there is no point wasting billions of naira conducting elections where the umpire is appointed by a sitting president. If the constitution is not amended whereby another independent body will be appointing INEC bosses, there is no point going to the polls to cast any votes. The outcome will definitely be according to the dictates of the employer of INEC boss, which is the executive. And Godswill Okoye, I'll be taking yours last. He says, I am still perplexed that Mr. President said Mahmoud Yakubu betrayed APC. Please, on what case? Where was that said? Same man that put Tinubu in power, same man that did wonders at Edo State. I think clearly APC betrayed Mahmoud. Abbas and River State issue is obviously now obvious now because the man didn't dance to the tune of Wike. After all, the role Wike played put him there. These are the comments we have on Facebook. And gentlemen, we should be rounding off now. Tony, would you want to address some of those concerns?
Many people are saying that what Tinubu is doing in River State is political. What do you think he would have done before now? The president came to office through political maneuvers and also through political party. So what he's doing should be political. But the most important thing is, does it serve the interest of the people? Whose interest does it serve? But I listened to somebody, I think Ezia Fakego, who said that development should be the way out. You don't rush development without assuring peace and justice. Do you know why we are still suffering after the civil war? Peace and justice has not been served to the southeast. You have to serve justice, very essential for any meaningful development. People will tell you, without peace, without justice, there will be no meaningful development. There are people who feel disenchanted, who feel bruised with a lot of things that happened. Yes, what Mr. President may be doing, is he going to serve the interests of Ogoni people and also serve the interests of the country? Yes, it is political, there is no doubt. And could he also be part of his machinations to get re-elected? Every president would also want to do the same thing. So it could be that he's trying to push this to get the support of the river people. He has started the process already. The point remains that whatever most presidents do, while in office, majority of those things are political. They are trying to, but then the one I wouldn't support is when it becomes a propaganda. It becomes audio. You say it, you go out without doing it, just to get the attention of the people and scheme that you have wanted to do something, just like starting campaign with road flag off. Just when you get into office, you leave that road.
Okay, so Tony, we'll have short time for us to leave, but one area I also want us to look into, based on the comments we have read so far from our social media page, is the issue of INEC chairman, being asked to proceed on leave. For now, it is in the sphere of speculation, based on what papers have reported this early morning. Let's assume that is a fact. Is there anything wrong with asking somebody who is due to leave office in less than 3 months' time to proceed on leave?
I think it's political. Again, Jonathan did it during the time of Sanusi, when Sanusi was the governor of Central Bank. Sanusi was to retire, I think 3 months' time. He asked him to proceed on terminal leave. And why did Jonathan do that? Because Sanusi was bent on shouting that $20 billion has not been remitted by the NNPC Limited. And then the opposition used it against Jonathan. And Jonathan asked him to proceed on terminal leave. It was political decision he took at that time. And what President Tinubu has done, if it is true, is also a political decision. And he is doing that based on the political sentiments that will favor his own political party. And he also...
Okay, we see that. I have seen many civil servants who, before they retire, they were asked to proceed on, terminal leave 3 months before the date they are due to
because
proceed.
They committed one infraction or the other. So if you are due for retirement,
I think it's not just if you committed
or misconduct or for whatever you've done.
I think it's not just misconduct. Like if you choose to proceed on terminal leave, maybe 3 months before the date you are due to retire, you still proceed until it gets your entitlement.
No, definitely you are going to get entitlement. But what that robs you off is there are certain things you would have done, approved or signed. Yeah, tenure expires at the day it says it expires. So if they ask you to proceed